Have y'all ever had one of those friends that insists that they need to break up with their significant other, or quit their job, or travel the world with no money because they just need to find themselves? Or before doing those things, like settling down, committing to a career, or getting serious with anyone, that they need to find themselves. And once they find that true self, they can truly start living. They can make the big decisions and everything will click into place. Except there is a problem. You're never going to find yourself because there really is nothing to find. Now, before you click away thinking this is some nihilistic nonsense, hear me out. This is not about nothing mattering or life being meaningless. It's actually quite the opposite. The idea that you need to find yourself before you can live is actually what's holding you back. And we've actually known this for thousands of years. But let's start with Jean-Paul Sartre, the French existentialist who spent a lot of time in cafes thinking about freedom, anxiety, and why people lied to themselves. In 1946, he gave a lecture called Existentialism is a Humanism, where he laid out one of the most important ideas in philosophy, that existence precedes essence. For most of human history, people believed that you had an essence, like a nature, a soul, or a specific blueprint that determined who you were. Essentially, your true self existed before you did, and your job was to discover it and live in accordance with it. But Sartre says that this is backwards, that you actually exist first, and you're thrown into the world with no instruction manual, no predetermined nature, and no essential self waiting to be discovered. And then, through your choices and actions, you create who you are. When he said humans are condemned to be free, he meant that you cannot escape the responsibility of defining yourself through your choices any more than you can escape those choices. Traveling to Europe will not suddenly reveal hidden truths about your selfhood, because there's really no real you hiding beneath the surface waiting to be found. When you say, I need to find myself, you are operating under the assumption that there is a finished product somewhere inside of you, and that if you just look hard enough, take enough personality tests, or try enough hobbies, that you'll discover the authentic you. But Sartre would say that you're chasing a ghost. Your true self is something that you build choice by choice. And every time you delay making a choice because you haven't found yourself yet, you're just avoiding the terrifying freedom of having to decide who you want to become. Sartre's term for this kind of self-deception is called bad faith. Bad faith is when you pretend that you don't have freedom, when you act as if you are determined by forces outside of your control, so you don't have to take responsibility for your choices. When you say, I cannot commit to this relationship until I find myself, what you're really saying is that you are too anxious to make a definitive choice, and that you are going to pretend that there is some kind of discovery process that will remove your responsibility to choose at all. And those choices are defining who you are just as much as any big decision would. But let's say that you reject Sartre and that you truly believe that there is an authentic self underneath all of the noise, and that if you just dig deep enough, you'll find it. Fine. Let's go back 2,500 years to ancient Greece and ask Heraclitus what he thinks. Heraclitus was a pre-Socratic philosopher, known for one of the most famous fragments in philosophy that you've probably heard of. No man ever steps in the same river twice. The river looks the same, but it is constantly flowing. New water is always moving through it. So you can never truly step in the same river, because the river from a moment ago is already gone. And this applies to our true selves as well. You are in a constant state of change, both physically and mentally. Finding yourself at 25 is great. But what happens when you're 40? Do you need to take another trip or divorce your perfectly good spouse because you need to find yourself again? The truth is, you are not a fixed object. You're a process. The things that you cared about at 18 versus 25 versus 35 are wildly different. We all make promises to ourselves at these ages that we will probably break. People say they'll never have kids and end up with 3 or 4 of them. You say you'll never move away from your siblings, but you get a job offer 3 states away that is impossible to turn down. Did you betray your true self? Or did you just change? Our priorities shift as we age. Thus, our true selves are always changing. So when these two principles come together, we get an entirely new idea of the self. If Sauter is right, that you create your true self through choices rather than delaying choices, and Heraclitus is right, that even if there was a self, it would not stay still long enough to be found, then we can only come to one conclusion. When you put your life on hold to find yourself, you're making a double mistake. First, you're waiting for a revelation that will never come, because there is no hidden truth about who you are. You are whoever you're being right now. The anxious person delaying decisions is your authentic self at the moment. Second, even if you did have some kind of moral clarity that this is who you really are, it would be outdated almost immediately. Grief, love, parenthood, all of it changes who you are very rapidly. The person who finds himself at 25 and thinks that they can finally start living is going to be very disappointed in 5 years. They'll look back on the 25-year-old them the same way the 25-year-old them looked back at 18-year-old them and thought, I had it all figured out. Because you never have it all figured out. None of us do. Because it keeps changing. This doesn't mean that you can't try new things and be a different person. But when people say that they are finding themselves, they're simply trying on different identities and seeing what feels right. They're getting distance from their current context to see what they actually value versus what they were told to value. They're experimenting with different versions of themselves, and that's fine. That's good, even. But it's not discovery. It's them building something new and seeing if they like it. And once you realize that, the pressure can start to drop. Because you don't have to find the one true path. You don't have to discover your true destiny. You just have to pick something and commit to becoming the person who chose that thing. And every choice to delay is shaping who you're becoming. You can't press pause on becoming your true self, and you also cannot press fast forward, because you are already you. So stop waiting to become something or someone and recognize that you are already someone, the person who has been choosing to wait. So, with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see y'all next time.